Okay guys, what do you say we get it started here? Alright, hope everyone had a good week. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'll start off with the classic rundown and I'll do a market outlook. We'll keep it quick, 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to talk about indicators and tools. To keep it light today, we're going to focus on benchmark trading, and maybe next stream we can focus on beta. Okay, let me catch up with chat. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, you can still join the Paragon Moon Boy. We have like 3 days left for November. Tuesday's the cutoff. Okay, guys. You want to join? There's probably should be a link in the stream below. Otherwise, you can. I wasn't trying to make this a shill stream, but just real quick, the Paragon GRP. I'll link it. Okay, thank you everybody for showing up. Let's go ahead and get into a quick outlook on markets, and then we'll get into the tools and stuff. So markets we're going to talk about today are the S&P, Bitcoin, and Doge. Those are the obvious ones to talk about right now. So for the S&P, let's just go over where we're at. So what I've been talking about for the past few weeks was the lower high scenario. That is definitely setting up right now. We are pushing up into the supply area where I think that momentum is going to get lost. So this 39 to maybe 41, I feel like we're going to get a compression built up here. And that is going to be what I'm going to be using my, for my basically my risk definition and my bias and everything for shorting crypto, hopefully. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. But I consider this to be the most likely scenario given what's happened, right? There's no change in monetary policy. The trend is consecutive lower highs, so it obviously makes sense to bet on another lower high. So that's the plan. It would be something like this. What I was talking about yesterday in the group was, I guess I should maybe censor it a little bit, but essentially look to take this type of short for altcoins. So wait for the momentum loss, use that as structuring, look for the altcoins that I already have planned out that I want to short, and then short them. The plan will then be to take profit on shorts when we return to the compression that everything just left off of, and then potentially hold the Bitcoin and ETH shorts for longer term. So that's pretty much my plan, and we'll keep it light at that. But yeah, that's that. So alternatively, the other plans for the S&P were the breakdown plan. So the acceptance below, come on drawing tool, the acceptance below the current composite, but that's not a valid argument anymore after this development here. So the only plays that are in, the only things that are in play anymore are the lower high or the acceptance above. So it is possible. I consider this to be unlikely. I think that the lower high scenario is the most likely scenario, but what could happen is we get through supply and build a compression. Now, it's going to absolutely be a guess for me to say where it would be, right? Whether it's building closer to 46, whether it's building closer to 42, who knows, right? But that is something I would be looking for if it builds basically the difference of the yearly VWAP, more or less. If we're building a compression below here, it's lower high. If we're building one up here, it's looking like higher high scenario where we're either looking to use this as risk definition for higher or look for the pullback to go, either or. Anyways, so we'll digress from that. TLDR is Still medium term, a little bit bullish. I think that benchmarks will travel up higher, and a lot of our shit beta will as well. But that's probably going to lead to momentum loss in the not so distant future. And I think that that's probably going to lead to downside following it. So we'll leave it at that. Let's talk about Bitcoin real quick, and then we'll talk about Doge, and then we'll get into indicators. So Bitcoin. Bitcoin's so much weaker structurally than the other things that we're looking at. So yeah, the plan for Bitcoin is the lower high scenario. So I have my alert right here. I'm thinking that as the S&P does one more little push, Bitcoin's able to do the same. So give us one more little push and start to round off. And, you know, whether I'm shorting at 21.5 or 22.2 or something is, you know, up in the air. I don't really know exactly where the level is going to be yet because it could be literally anywhere within this region. But it's more about the structuring and then waiting for the comp to develop so that you have risk definition. But yeah, I think that this is basically what's going to happen. So remember what we just showed on the S&P. It's the same thing, except I'm going to actually take it as a swing, like a big swing this time around. So for the altcoins and all the shit beta, I'm going to be taking profit when we come back to the range lows probably. But for Bitcoin and ETH, I'll probably try to hold them for the actual breakdown short. Because, I mean, in my opinion, if it's going to come, you know, this is probably the setup for the move. We're pushing up into range highs and we're sourcing liquidity. This is probably rounds off and falls over would be my best guess now. Alternatively, I think that either way, it's probably going to fail at some point up here. It could come back and find support at the range lows and go higher. We'll see. But either way, I think that the fading, the lower high that's forming on everything is pretty high probability. So that's what I'm going to do. That's pretty much it for Bitcoin. Again, I think Bitcoin will probably go higher. So I wouldn't be too eager to step in front of things just yet. As long as the S&P looks like this, you should be careful of wanting to be super bearish on Bitcoin. We need this to round off. Okay. I'll check chat in a second here, guys. Let's finish off with Dogecoin, and then we'll catch up on chat. So Dogecoin, let's see. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't even know like why Dogecoin is doing what it's doing, whether it's like really the Twitter thing or whatever. I don't give two shits, honestly. This has been phenomenal to trade. Like 2 weeks ago, Aptos was the play, and it was really, really enjoyable to trade. Really, really actually just like it was super enjoying that. And then the same thing basically has occurred over here on Dogecoin this week. So I mostly just been intraday trading it. I caught like a couple moves here and there, but mostly just been scalping it. But yeah, so this has been super volatile. I don't think it's in the area right anymore where you want to be like adding to the long anymore, right? You're definitely entering the take profit zone on this. So here are the two plays. I think I did post about this on Twitter, but essentially we just kind of blasted through this low volume node, which is to be expected. So we're now currently hitting into supply, and we're going to eventually hit into this high volume node. So I'm thinking what happens is this is going to round off. And whether it rounds off really slowly or whether it kind of Burj Khalifas, you know, we don't know. I think that that's probably more contingent on the benchmarks than anything. But I think that this is probably what happens. So Doge is not one that I am eager to short quickly, but eventually it's probably one that will get added on once I'm confident about being bearishly positioned. So alternatively, we can get through this, and you know, if this happens, like we're really like the market's going to get hot again. So potentially we could get through this kind of area that we're talking about, and if we see that kind of happening, we're looking, you know, Dogecoin's going to like send at that point, right? I mean, there's like I don't think that there's going to be relevant supply up here personally. Now that's just speculation, but I feel like we, at this point, that would be like the structure change, and this thing could send, and it would pretty much be a risk on signal for crypto. So I don't think that this is that likely, but it is possible. So it's always important to have all the different plans in the back of your head. So again, to reiterate, it probably does the opposite of this. It probably rounds off here and comes right back to where it just was. Okay. Let's digress. Can catch up with Chad here. What makes Paragon Group different and better than other groups? I mean, I don't think that anybody else teaches what we teach. There might be pseudo similarities, right? Somebody might teach order flow, but they're not teaching a lot of what we are. We show, not only do we show the education, but we're showing the application, and then you can interact with us while you're trying to apply it. So I think that we cover all three bases of learning. And I don't know that that necessarily exists elsewhere. Can you show us where this has happened, this compression has happened before? Grant, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you show us where this has happened before, this compression? Yeah, I mean, I guess I could cherry pick an example. If let's change tickers to something that I don't have drawings on. That'll be good enough. Although, all right. Essentially, like the core of like a trend structure is what I just depicted. So people think about trend structuring being this. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And then, oh, we're trending up, so it looks like this. And yeah, it does look like that. But on lower time frame, this look is what it looks like more on lower time frame. On higher time frame, trends really don't look like that. Trends look like what I just depicted with XRP, or whatever we were just charting out of Doge, where you have a range, and an uptrend is obviously going to break up from it. You build another range. And when a trend is strong, you shouldn't really be coming back to these previous ranges. So it's the perfect debate, and this is what leaves so many people sidelined, is this concept of actually you should be just buying into the range lows on the next range, not looking to buy back into the void. Oh, there's a single prints, guys. We need to fill. Okay, we're going to fill in the single prints, and then we're going to go up. In a trend, you shouldn't be filling in these single prints. So this is just like how structure should be depicted, in my opinion. Bear structure, bull structure, not like this. This is only what it looks like when you look at low time frame. Which is essentially what this trend is. It's just hard to see if you don't know what to look for. Now, if I'm not on a 3-day, if I'm on like a 12-hour or something, these ranges are more obvious. Anyways, I'm gonna digress. I hope that I even was talking about what you were asking about. Where's the ticker? There we go. Okay, I'm going to catch up on questions in chat and then try to get a rundown started here. Impulsion, thank you for the sub, friend. I didn't notice right away. 30K programmed? Could be. Magus, when you're scalping things like Aptos, is it tick-based or time-based? Yeah, definitely tick-based. All the scalping I do is going to be with tick and T-Rev. Which view apps you're using? I'll go over the view apps and stuff in a bit, don't worry. What's the big difference between Trading Light and Exo? Trading Light is maybe more user-friendly, has more tickers and stuff. Exo's a way better like overall order flow platform. If you're trading altcoins, Trading Light may be better. If you're trading benchmarks, you want to use Exo for sure. I don't have any opinions on SHIB. What I do have an opinion on is if any but you name and shame, if any of you try to play the pair trade because GCR tweeted about it, hopefully that was an important lesson. You shouldn't try to copy trade people that play a different game than you. I'm born. MJ and Kobe talk was pretty good yesterday in the chat. Seems I never learned my lessons with Doge Short. Yeah, sorry, friend. I don't know what to say on that one. It's rough. You just don't want to be that guy that, you know, when something's going up, you want to buy it. I'll just punch my mic. The whole concept of the mean reversion stuff is really detrimental to us. You gotta know how to apply it. How long do you think Doge will go up? I kind of went over that just now. I don't know a time frame. It's really contingent upon the benchmark. So when the S&P and Bitcoin start to round off, that's when we know. And likely, so a lot of the altcoins will likely be getting sold off prior. That's kind of how the risk curve works. But anyways, the stream will, yes, it will be recorded. Question from a beginner: how do you manage tick size? So it's pretty much determining tick size for profile and footprints is pretty much discretionary. So the concept, or how I look at it for TPO, for example, is I want it to give me as much information as possible without it being difficult to read. So running on a high tick, like doubling what I'm on, I don't like looking at this because I'm going to, when I'm looking at things like singles right, or poor structuring, like a poor high, is not going to look the same as when I go to a lower tick. It's not even poor structuring when we're on 25 tick. It's not ideal structuring because there's multiple blocks here, a lot of blocks here, but it's not like actual proper poor structure by definition. So TLDR is lower tick is really important for the purpose of seeing detail. The higher tick you go, the less detail. And the same logic is going to basically apply to footprints. If you run a higher tick on a footprint, it's going to aggregate multiple ticks together, so you're not going to see them. If I double the tick, it's going to aggregate these two, blocks into the same, basically. So TLDR is, I wouldn't fuck with backtesting ticks and stuff like that. That's something I wasted a lot of time on in the, maybe a few years ago. I wasted a lot of time on trying to backtest tick for footprint and for TPO and Renko and everything. I think it's a waste of time. Just eyeball that shit. It's a good platform for tick charts. There isn't too many. Insilico Terminal is going to have tick charts eventually, but for right now, it's pretty much just Quant Tower. That's what I use. I don't know the answer to that one. Game Theoretics. Yeah, I'm using Quant Tower for ticks. Is there anything that tells you that single print fair value will be filled? So it's contextual, right? So you're asking about, right, I kind of said, when you're in a trend, you don't really expect singles to get backfilled. You don't expect the anomalies to get tagged the same way when you're in a trend. But when you're in a range, it's far more likely. You can really just think about it like that. When you're trending, if there's singles below you and NPOCs below you and etc., you're just not that likely to go to them compared to when you're in a range. When you're in a range, it's super high probability. You think we mean revert this weekend's scam pump? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, you're referring to Dogecoin. Dogecoin might have a pullback or whatever, but I don't think the Dogecoin is just going to lose momentum off this. This is a pretty big pump. I don't think that it's just going to Burj Khalifa. It should need some rounding process before it could go down. I'm almost at the bottom of the list, and then we'll start the rundown here. What kind of X volume do you use there, sir? Yeah, I'll go over that here in a second. Breakout trading works good in trending. I can't argue with that. I mean, yeah, Born will probably have some degree of reversion, but like fading I wouldn't recommend like fading the actual trend that exists right now, but sure, having some intraday reversion or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. How are you, Magus? I'm good. Thank you for asking. All right, let's get into our kind of a rundown on things. So today we're gonna go over TradingView stuff, and we're going to go over Exo stuff. I have a lot more TradingView things that are not going to be included here around altcoin stuff. We're not going to be using we're not going to go over altcoin stuff today, other than maybe one altcoin chart. We're largely going to be going over benchmark trading. So yeah, I don't have a real plan, but we're just gonna basically just go through my charts and talk about settings and which indicators we're looking at. Yeah, this should be recorded. It's definitely recorded if you're subbed. The question is, do we put it on YouTube or not? Okay, let's pick a chart. So let's see. Let's do a Bitcoin one first. Actually, let's just talk about overall like setup. So basically, this is what I call my scan chart. So this is one of the main ones that I look at every day. This is basically just where I look at all the major things that I need to look at, which are the S&P on the right, Ethereum in the middle, Bitcoin on the left. I have a high time frame chart on the top and a low time frame chart on the bottom. I really like this feature of the multi-pane, so I would strongly recommend people considering these, just because I can see all these, all these different charts on the same screen. Pretty much all we're really seeing on the screen is I didn't prep that one to be looked at. These ones are all sussy. You know what? We'll risk leaking an indicator. All right, nothing got leaked. We're good. Okay, let's make this full screen so you guys can see it easier. So this is the low time frame S&P chart that I look at. The first thing that we'll go over is the volume. So somebody asked about that, so we'll highlight that first. So I don't believe in using the default volume that TradingView has. I don't even know how to pull it up. There you go. It's wildly inaccurate and like basically useless in my opinion. If you want to do anything referencing volume analysis, TradingView's gotten better over the years, but I don't recommend using default volume. It's trash. The best thing that you can use is RVol. So there are probably free ones out there, but this is the one that Charlie made for us for the Paragon group, Paragon RVol. This in combination with the next thing that we can talk about, which is Paragon Extreme Volume, which is basically the candle overlay. So this is just showing us the thresholds of volume of delta. So when we hit a certain amount of buy volume, it turns bright blue or regular blue, or bright red or regular red, depending on how much delta is going through on that individual candle. I'm not going to sit here and explain like what delta and things like that are. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube and stuff that you can watch those if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about on that. Okay, so those are really the only volume analysis. The only pieces of volume that I'm really looking at are those two things right there. RVol, which I'm not supposed to be clicking on, and the delta overlay. Other than that, the only thing that has any volume factored into it is VWAPs, which we'll go over next. So I'm going to have a YouTube video coming out about this, but essentially it's essentially a makeshift footprint, these two things overlapping. Now that I know what the delta is on the given candle, and I can see what the relative volume is, so how much volume is getting transacted, and I can even see the buy and sell spikes, I can essentially use that to know when like a lot of volume is coming through, right? So, as long as I contextualize it, if I'm in a range, I'm going to look to fade that volume. If I'm in a trend, I'm probably going to look to go with it. Now you have basically a mock footprint within TradingView. It's not as good of a footprint as you would get on Exo or something, but it's definitely usable, most notably on altcoins, which we will go over when we get to the altcoin tab. So those are the first two indicators and they're really important to my trading these days. I look at them a lot, and the main reason is it just makes getting a gauge of volume in different markets very easy. A lot of order flow platforms, there's so much setup and time that goes into the actual setting up of your charts. Like for example, setting up, if I want to go trade Doge through Sierra, the amount of time that it's going to take to get that chart template set up is pretty strenuous. So instead I can just click this and have a shittier version basically right off the bat. Okay, next thing is PVP. So the profile is built into TradingView. It's just fixed profiles, so fixed time. They have pretty much all of them now. I have no use for this on anything other than the S&P because, right, if I'm going to look at profile for Bitcoin, I'm just going to use Exo. So that's why you'll see that like none of my Bitcoin charts will ever have profiles on them. I don't think even the high time frame one does, except for this long-term profile, which we'll explain later, and the visible range. Okay. Hope everything's clear so far. I know I'm jumping around. Next is the VWAP, right? I guess that's super important. So VWAP is probably the main indicator that I'm using on TradingView. It's so effective for everything from forming thesis and bias and stuff to, you know, lower time frame strategies and stuff. Daily VWAP is really important to my scalping. It helps me with trade setups. It helps me with plans and bias. I mean, it literally, VWAP just makes trading idiot proof for me, in my opinion. And that pretty much is it for the main indicators that we're using. I do use Spaceman levels. I don't know why this is duplicated here. That's weird. But anyways, to see like daily, or I actually don't have daily on here, weekly, monthly levels, whatever I'm looking at. And then basically this chart is just duplicated for all these different panes. And the 5-minute charts will have lower time frame VWAPs, right? So they're going to have weekly and monthly. And then the higher time frame ones are going to have yearly, quarterly, and monthly as well. No, none of these indicators I'm sharing unless they're built into TradingView or public. Okay, so basically this is just this is my first stop for the day. Every day is look at this chart, see what the S&P is doing on the high time frame, see what Bitcoin's doing. I don't really care that much about ETH realistically, but yeah, definitely I get a good scan on here. High time frame, and then I can look at the little time frame, and then I can use this. You know, a lot of the time this Bitcoin chart, like I haven't been trading Bitcoin actively lately, so I don't even have this chart pulled up. I only have this pulled up for the purpose of the stream. The altcoin chart and the multi-scan chart are all I'm using on TradingView most of the time, other than the relative strength chart, which we're not going to do today. So that pretty much covers it for the scan. We'll go over to Bitcoin. There's going to be kind of a lot of little details on this one to go over, but we're going to try to breeze through it so that we're not just rambling forever. So basically just have a shitload of time frames loaded up. Top left is 30-minute, top right 4-hour, bottom left is 1 minute, or it's on 3-minute right now. Normally it's on 1 minute. This is my comparison. We'll go over that in a second. This is my high time frame. So let's go over this comparison one because it's probably the one that you guys don't know what the fuck this is at all. So essentially what I do with this one is, unfortunately, we don't have price history because it's the weekend. But normally what I'm doing with this one is I have the sessions marked out in the background, and then I can see the relative performance of all the main assets. So I can see NASDAQ, the S&P, Bitcoin, ETH, oil, and gold. There's probably some other things that maybe should be considered to be put in here, but this is generally what I pay attention to. Oil, I'm not going to explain that. We'll digress. So yeah, the purpose of this chart is literally just to see relative performance between the different markets, and it's pretty useful for intraday. We'll go super high time frame next. This is my high time frame chart. Not much to go over here. It has high time frame VWAPs. I barely ever look at them. The only real thing that I'm using this chart for these days is maybe having some gauge of the macro comps, but I barely pay attention to those even. Because, I mean, when we're trading in a range like this, none of this shit's useful. Really, the only thing I'm using right now is the profile. So we'll go over this real quick because there's probably some confusion around it. What this is taking a fixed range, which is built into TradingView, and then overlapping it over the entirety of the recent range and trend, you know, whatever we want to call this, whether it's a trend or a range. So start to finish. And essentially that's just letting me see things like this LVN, which is really important, right? 25K is going to be really significant resistance if we ever get that high. And then seeing, you know, obviously the majority of the volume that, you know, has been traded within this range that we're in, right? This range is pretty significant. So yeah, literally all you're doing for this is just drawing a fixed range and drawing it over the entirety of price history. For anybody that's not familiar, all my profiles have the same kind of setup. I turn off all the coloring, I turn off all the crap. I made this one really thick so it extended across, and then put in a bunch of bars. Yeah, it's fine on 300 because I don't zoom in on this one. that's pretty much that. Just high time frame levels and profile. It is being recorded, guys, don't worry. Okay. From there, we'll go to the higher to medium time frame chart. This is the one that is this is mainly where I'm paying attention to my high time frame VWAP set. And then obviously I can have some semblance of the range as well. And then the visible range profile. So we'll go over the settings on this one. Visible range profile. I think that the visible range is garbage for the most part. That is why on the previous one that we just showed, I was using the fixed range instead, because it's more controlled. But the visible range is good for looking at the current range, basically, because we can just choose to cut off the prior price action and just look at the development on the one we're in. So this chart, pretty straightforward, is visible range, VWAPs, and awesome oscillator. This is my momentum chart as well. So this is where I'm monitoring momentum on mainly high time frame. Low time frame momentum, I pretty much just eyeball these days. I'm not going to be looking at like low time frame dips and stuff, but for high time frame momentum, this is pretty effective. So 4 hour and up pretty much. But the AO looks ugly, so I normally hide it. And it's all about aesthetics, guys. You're going to stare at this screen all the time. Make sure it's not ugly. Okay, let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. How do you read VWAP? Think of it like a moving average, except it just has volume weighted into it, so it's a better version of a moving average. I'm not gonna, I mean, it's all about if you know, structuring. What's the slope? Are you over, under, etc., etc. There's a lot of little quick details like that, but we're not gonna make this a VWAP stream. All right, moving on. So that's comparison, high time frame, medium time frame, kind of like, we'll call this the intraday time frame. So this is the 30-minute. So this is RVOL. It is the Paragon VWAP that Charlie made. All of these VWAPs, by the way, are made by Charlie. They're all custom and they're not public. But this is turned on to the weekly setting. So this is a weekly VWAP with a quarterly is the red line. There's a monthly in here too, but oh yeah, the monthly and the quarterly are the same because they just reset. That's pretty straightforward on this. Oh yeah, I did miss something actually. I could probably just show this one. Who cares? So this is the Paragon Spot Perp Premium. So this is you know, as you can see if you look at my chart, it's very small at the top. I never look at premiums these days. I don't find it to be useful at all. But yeah, this is something that I've used a lot in the past. And that is another Paragon indicator. Yeah, BTC Charlie, my partner. Okay, so that covers everything except for the scalp chart. So I'm not actually scalping off this one, to be clear, because I am going to be always scalping off of tick. But this is the lower time frame, you know, 1 minute chart that I'm going to be looking at, and it's like my shitty footprint, basically. So one key that I'll put, guys, is that whenever you want to do anything reflecting order flow trading and you're doing it on TradingView, you've got to be doing perps. So I've seen people using spot contracts or looking at spot markets and then talking about, you know, traps and things like that. You know, it's only going to be applicable when you're on a perp, just to be clear. But yeah, this is the lower time frame chart that I'm using for Bitcoin. So daily VWAP, standard deviation, weekly VWAP, RVOL. That's pretty much it. Occasionally I'll turn on PVP. But most of the time it's a redundancy when I have a better profile right here anyways. And then I do have an alternative band, the PSAR bands, but I'm not going to go over those. So that's pretty much it for this. This is great for structuring intraday trades. I wouldn't even say for scalping, but more so for just bias and, you know, an intraday plan, and then you scalp around that intraday plan maybe. But yeah, love this chart. All right, next one we're going to do is the altcoin chart. Let's see. We'll start off with the lower time frame. So this 1 minute is where I get a pretty good bias of like where we're at within the 1 minute, you know, structuring and value for scalping alts. This is the PSAR bands that we were just talking about. I'm actually quite surprised to see how vault like that. Coins don't normally get outside these bands like that. That's actually pretty crazy. Anyways, classic RVol. This is something that we haven't seen. I don't use it very much, but this is the TradingView CVD. I did not want to do that. Can we open? So TradingView has its own CVD. Unfortunately, it's based off of buy and sell volume, and it's not based off of actual delta, but it's usable. Yeah, no, just a daily VWAP. From there, medium time frame. So this is where I get my daily profiles. So for altcoins and stuff, guys, TradingView is going to be your friend for all these setups because of how easy it is to get them ready to go. Wow, did Dogecoin pop even further? Holy fuck, what did it do while I wasn't paying attention? Fucking rip. Rip bears, rip bears. It popped like another 20% and I wasn't paying attention. It's crazy. Okay, anyways, daily VWAP, daily VWAP, weekly VWAP, you know, delta overlay, RVol, profile, easy clap. That's it. This is a great, you know, this is basically my, am I longing or am I shorting right now kind of chart. You know, this chart will tell me, should I be looking for a long for the next scalp or a short, 100%. It's based off of what we're doing with the profile, the VWAP. The VWAP's the main thing, definitely. You guys don't know how easy VWAPs can make your trading, actually. It's ridiculous. Okay, and then the last thing is the higher time frame alt chart. Generally speaking, this isn't super important for me, but I do think it has some relevance just paying attention to where we're at, right? You know, I was able to basically guess that we were going to pop last night because of where we were trading at, right? We're pushing into equal highs, and it just made a lot of sense to me. We're just going to go right through the LVN. Yeah, that pretty much does it for TradingView. How long did we talk for? Wow, I talked for longer than I expected. Okay, we'll check questions, and then we'll maybe do a little exo stuff, and then just, yeah, basically just do questions from there. Charlie's friends with everybody somehow. Dogecoin is choosing violence today. It is VWAP standard deviations, game theorize. It's not perfect like onesie twosies though. Okay, let's do a little exo stuff. Okay, so this is my TPO. Let's see. It's important to acknowledge that there's pretty key differences with exo when you're on web versus desktop. Frankly, the desktop TPO is better, but it doesn't have Binance. So personally, I'm going to be doing everything off of Binance data for the most part. I pay attention to like Bybit footprint, but for TPO, I want to use Binance because it's just where all the volume is. So because of this, there's some workarounds, and I'll go over one quick piece of spice for you guys that I had. It took me a while to figure this one out, but essentially, it won't let you do. Let's actually look at the settings. This. If I want to use a volume point of control, which I always want to use a volume point of control, it also makes my value area a volume value area. And my personal preference is time value areas and volume POCs. So unfortunately, you can't do that by default in here. So what I figured out was if I keep it on time-based for both, and then I turn my TPO, or I turn my POC off, and only put the POC on the volume profile, I now can see the volume point of control and the time-based value area. So that's a little tidbit for you guys there. The only downside is it won't mark your, it's not going to extend this for me as a naked point of control, but I don't really need that, right? I can just see that this was naked until we traded into it. This is naked. I can see that with my eyeballs. So that should be pretty useful actually if you're using web-based, and I do recommend web-based probably. I think the desktop will be better eventually, but we're not there yet. Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward. TPO, value area, point of control, delta profile. Something that's important on the delta profile is I use percentage of the session. I didn't really like this background. I thought it's just not readable. But when you go percentage of session, you can really kind of see where those mistakes are coming in. Especially when you get the big overlaps of multiple days, when you combine them all together, you'll literally just see like blue and red. Like, here, let me draw it. When you put it to that setting, your distribution, oh God, your distribution will look like this, and then your profile will just be all blue at the top and then all red at the bottom. And it's pretty hilarious, actually. Other settings, so it's important for me, right? Like, I don't need daily levels. So when we're looking at like the markers, there's no sense in me having daily levels on because it's right here on the screen. POC and value area and low, right? I don't need any daily levels. So the only levels that I do are the previous week and then the current week. A key thing for me is that it's important that you don't have redundancies, right? It's very easy with these kind of TPO order flow setups. You just have like the value area high like shown like 7 different places on your screen. Don't do that. Limit how many ways you're seeing that information. So there's not too much to go over on here. Maybe I share this template with the public. Maybe I'd be a nice guy and do that. I feel like I should do that. I'm not going to share any footprint templates, but I'll share this TPO one. So yeah, I don't need to go any further on it because I'm just going to share it. Let's lightly touch on some footprint stuff. So for me, I believe in running more than one footprint setup. We're only going to go over one today, but it's pretty important in my opinion to do more than one. Just because, yeah, I mean, like, seeing kind of, like, intraday rotate, seeing, like, absorption that's going to lead to, like, a 4-hour turnaround and go the other way for 5 hours, you're not going to see that kind of slow change in a print like what we're looking at now. This is more of my scalping and very higher frequency chart that I'll be using. For a higher time frame, you need to have something that is going to really show you absorption more. So this one's much more for me just about seeing positional changes, right? So seeing when people are opening and closing positions, and then seeing when that absorption and that imbalance overlaps with those opens and closes, basically. So yeah, I mean, the delta profile is also, delta profile on Exo kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. Delta profile on Sierra, I remember just being so much better. Which, on that note, guys, I'm going back to Sierra soon for the purpose of my benchmark trading, and then I'm just going to hang out on TradingView stuff for altcoins. I'll still use Exo Web for when I'm on the move and when I need to see things quickly and easily. But yeah, I'm setting up a new PC really soon, and we're switching back to Sierra for Bitcoin and ETH, which is going to be sick. I use 2 monitors right now. But I think I'm gonna go back to 3 soon. Thinking about having another one. So here's my setup. I got a 34-inch in front of me, and then a 24-inch vertical. So you guys are looking at this one, and this is where I do all my analysis. If I'm trading Bitcoin, I got footprints over here, and TradingView over here, and execution over here. So it'll just be quant tower with a DOM right here, a tick chart here, and then lot of times I put my agar here. That's what Bitcoin trading would look like. For altcoin trading, it's a bit different. I don't need any of this footprint shit, so it's just going to be all trading view. And then it's actually crazy how much more simple my altcoin trading is. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're working with. Strongly, strongly recommend the vertical monitor for execution, my friends. This is big plus, I'm telling you. It doesn't seem like a big deal until you start using it, and then you'll never want to go back. You should never use a DOM on a horizontal monitor. It needs to be vertical. And on top of that, you're just going to see, like, it's just, having a vertical monitor is just nice. It's very convenient for different things, you know. I can read my chat over here very easily. My chat's elongated, so I can very easily see everything you guys are typing over there. But for the DOM thing, I mean, it just allows me to be able to see the entirety of the DOM, right? If I put a DOM on this screen, you know, I'm not going to be able to see that many ticks. If I put it on this, I can see a shitload more ticks because this screen is twice as high as this one. I know that's not very well depicted in my crude drawing. Okay, we'll digress from that. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much going to do it for the benchmark talk. I did leave some things out here and there, but yeah, I don't really want to talk about altcoins just because I don't want to talk forever. We're almost an hour into the stream. Really, the only things that I'm leaving out on benchmark stuff is kind of the news element of paying attention to the news, but I don't really want to go down that route of conversation. We'll save that for another day. So here's what we'll do, guys. We'll just leave it. You guys can just ask questions. I'll answer them, and then we'll wrap it up. So I hope that hope you guys got something out of it. If I was to TLDR it all, we'll just pause screen on this right here. This is pretty much, you'd be surprised, this is pretty much all I'm using on TradingView for the most part. VWAP, Delta Overlay, and RVOL. That's pretty much it. The VWAP, the only difference is, right, this is the Scalp VWAP, and I do have a higher time frame version of a VWAP that looks like this one. So two different VWAP setups. So all these VWAPs are the same indicator that Charlie made. He covers it. He put every time frame into one another, and we even aggregate every ticker together. So that's why our VWAP's pretty sick. Let's see, what do we got here? Surprised to hear that you don't use footprints for alts. Yeah, it's just not really as practical as you would think, and I don't need it. So one of the things that people don't realize about tick charts that's so powerful about them is the way that you can feel the price movement. That you will, when you're looking at a 1 minute chart that's time-based like this one, I have some feeling of momentum and some feeling of what's happening with liquidity. But when I watch this same chart on a tick chart, I can literally see when we're hitting into liquidity, like when aggressive buyers are hitting into asks, and I can see that with my eyeballs. And like a chart like this, like look, this is what I would be using. These two charts to scalp Doge. This is like a footprint right here. This is a shitty footprint. So, for example, right, since pretty much every trade I took on Doge was a long, I don't think I took a single short. I'm just looking for big sell waves that have some confluence to start aping into. And I'm pretty high frequency on my scalps, so I'm in and I'm out. I take profit really aggressively. Which is a really important lesson, guys. If you want to be a scalper, don't be this guy that's like scalping for huge percent moves. It's just not good. You need to just like, as soon as it's going in your direction, immediately start scaling out. That's the scalper mindset. Thank you, Mr. Robot. Started using vertical monitor a while ago. I got 2 of them. Yeah, I've even thought about having a second one too, to have, you know, center monitor and then vertical on both sides. Because the one downside to having one vertical monitor on the right is it instinctually, my neck instinctually spends a little bit more time aimed to the right when I'm trading, right? Because I have to look at that monitor because that's where all the executions happen. So I have thought about, it's not actually the best ergonomically for my neck. Hey, do you think Shiba will pump I'm sure it will. Has it Shiba not already pumped? I don't remember what the ticker for this thing is. There you go. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, it's gonna catch up for sure. I really need to learn how to use tick charts. Yeah, I mean, it's a strong recommendation in my opinion. Why is TPO value area more significant than volume value area? Well, they're not more significant. It's just my personal preference for the purpose of the TPO. For TPO, I want it to be time-based. The reality is that you need both to have a proper understanding of value. So I don't want to do the whole auction market theory value lesson right now, but the gist of it is that time plus time is what TPO is, plus volume, which is what volume profile is, equals value. So you need both. I'm just for the TPO, I only want it to be time. That's all. I'll see the volume levels elsewhere in TradingView most likely. Delta overlay and RVol equals shitty print, 100%. I mean, I say it's shitty because I can't see numbers and stuff, although you can see, I mean, holy fuck. This must be accounting for it in individual Shibas, for sure. Look at those numbers. So you can see in the RVol, you can't see the numbers in the Delta, but, you know, between CVD, the factor in CVD too. I mean, I don't personally like CVD that much for TradingView, and alts. It hasn't, with my rough backtesting I've done, it doesn't produce signals the way I want it to, the way that standard CVD would. But I have it on here because, I just keep it small. Most of the time I just keep it way up here and don't look at it. Just look at these two, like I said. You can get an adapter for a second monitor. Yeah, they have, you can do splitters, or you can split a monitor. You can also, right, if you have HDMI and you have the VGA or whatever the blue thing is, they have HDMI to VGA adapters so it can plug in with this little, blue thing that screws into the back of your computer and then have HDMI on the other side. On my old computer, that's what I did. And it loads it as HDMI, so even though you would think it would be shitty, it's actually not. Yeah, Shiba's the already pumpered. It's probably going to keep going. Why do you need a DOM to execute when it jumps everywhere? I aggregate ticks, so it doesn't jump for me. I control the tick size. DOMs, I used to solely trade off of a DOM for a while. I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. Nowadays, I just use the DOM to execute orders. It's a much easier way for me to put orders in the book. That's why, guys. Don't get distracted by how it jumps around or whatever. Aggregate your ticks if that's the issue. It's how I get my orders in the book a lot of the time. Not the only way. Actually, that is the only way I'm going to put orders in the book when I'm scalping, unless I'm using best bid, best ask. Do you also look at price action in candlestick charts? I mean, yeah, I basic price structure type of stuff, but I'm not a price action trader by any means. It's order flow and momentum is how I would describe it. Yeah, the DVI port, that's what it's called. Where will you put your third monitor? I was thinking about putting it just at top. So I have the vertical. Wow, my computer's dying right now. The horizontal, and I was thinking about putting it just another one up here. Would you recommend 16 or 32? I mean, if you have the option, go higher for sure. This current PC has 8 in it. It's a piece of shit. The new one that I'm going to be setting up has 64. So yeah, I would probably, as high as you can go on that, honestly. It's not really, there's not going to be no drawback other than spending the money if you can afford it. It's going to make a computer a lot faster. When you have a million TradingView charts and you got all your screens up and stuff, there's so much memory that these web browsers are using actually that RAM is actually really important for that. Execution video, yeah. So unfortunately, guys, I'm putting the majority of my effort for education into the Paragon. I'm not making an effort the same way with the public that I am, for obvious reasons, right? These people pay me to teach, so I'm gonna give them everything I got. a lot of those kind of things exist in the Paragon group, and I haven't made the effort to make a public version of it. Now that Lear's editing video for me and stuff, we should have a lot more. We should have a lot more public stuff coming out, and that's definitely my goal, is to do a lot more YouTube. And soon I should have an incentive to be streaming a lot. I'll leave it at that. So I should be streaming at least once a week moving forward. But anyways, follow-up question: is there an issue with being an American, with trading in any way? I don't know. Couldn't say. Big things incoming. Let's go, Lear. Yes, you get access to all the old vids. At this point, the pre-made education, there's got to be over 100 videos now. And then I don't even know how many videos there are when we're talking about market reviews and trade reviews and all those kind of things. I don't even know how many videos we have now. But yeah, 100%. You have access to everything when you join. And you get access to a lot of the stuff when you leave, too. You get to keep access to all the indicators and stuff. You don't need to be worried about your skill level with joining the Paragon, my friend. We handle everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a professional prop trader of a decade or if you've been trading for 3 weeks. Don't worry. Yeah, it is primarily an education group. That's definitely our focus, but I do try to share the trades that are worth sharing. For lower time frame stuff, it's going to be hindsight, just because it's just not really possible for me to share a scalp ahead of time. But we do a lot of review on that stuff. Again, especially now that I have Lear ready to help me make that content better. We're going to be doing a lot more. No, I'm not going to be doing FEMX. How do you backtest a setup, also backtesting and tweaking an indicator? It's a tough one for me for how I should answer that one appropriately. When backtesting, if you're going to do manual backtesting with your eyeballs and stuff, that's fine. It's a great way to build up temporary confidence, or maybe not temporary, but a way to build up confidence around whatever you're using. To do proper backtesting, though, is actually building out programs, right, in Python or something, and it's pretty hard to make a controlled environment to actually test things. So my honest opinion for people is to do light backtesting with your eyeballs on things, just like, did this RSI div work? And if it did, how long did it take to play out, and how far did it go, right? Maybe record some light stats on that kind of stuff with your eyes. And if it makes sense, just get out there and start trading with small size. Because really the best thing you can do is just trade on small size and record those stats. Because they're going to be far more accurate than your backtests will be. The added variance that you're going to be recording in execution and stuff like that, it's just far more effective. So TLDR, do light backtesting to build up a little confidence, and then just get in there and start live trading with small size and record everything when you do live trading. Everything. Hey, senpai. Yeah, definitely Shiba's gonna do its thing. I wouldn't be personally interested in trading Shiba. We like the Dogecoin. This is the only thing I traded all week. Actually, I take that back. I think I traded Aptos on Monday a little bit. Okay, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll hang out for another minute or two in case there's any last-second questions. Otherwise, we'll move on to next stream. Maybe we'll do something similar with a focus on altcoins, right? Around how to find which altcoins you should trade and how to trade them. I know I didn't really go into the details around the actual execution or anything like that. We can maybe expand upon that, but I hope that just going over some of the settings and things was helpful. Bitcoin break 21K today. I mean, it's at 21K. I mean, so break through. I don't know. We'll see. Probably could. I mean, I do think that Bitcoin trades higher. My plan, is to trade. It's to short Bitcoin higher. Um, for weekend stuff, I don't like trading on weekends. Personally, very much against trading on the weekends. Hey Lear, can you link the invite to Magus and Friends Discord? So if anybody wants the template, I'll put the output template in the Magus and Friends Discord. We'll get a link here. If Lear can't do it, I'll pull it up, or I'll just put it on Twitter too. But yeah. Thank you. Doge open interest went boom. Did it? You gonna make me look at Dogecoin open interest for you? Fucking always logs me out. That was low-key. Who asked that? Senpai is trying to get me to dox my email by accident. He knew I would be logged out. What do we want to look at? It doesn't fucking matter anyways. We're going to look at aggregated. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sussy, guys. The Dogecoin's open interest went up like hundreds of percent, or 150%. That's just a lot of risk potentially. But I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna speak on what that equates to. Free alpha, guys. Order flow and open interest in particular is really only effective for now. I tweeted this at Hasaka the other day, but as soon as you see a piece of information, immediately following you seeing it, its value degrades steadily over time until it has no value at all. So you see a big puke, you see a big open, it has value immediately, and every second that goes by, its value degrades. And the reason for this is variance. There's every second that goes by, there's more and more variables getting put into the market, making that less useful. Yeah, maybe I should unlock. I'll just put stuff on YouTube for you guys. But the reason why I'm not unlocking the VODs right away is because it actually works. I got like my sub count went up like 100x or something, like almost at 100%. It literally went up like ridiculous amounts. I don't know. We're just gonna stay scamming, I guess. All right, guys. I'll put this on YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Everyone have a good weekend, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Stream on Tuesday. Cheers.